Well, 73-year-old Farida Brown is the only victim that is still here at Connolly Medical. Her son, David Brown, told us everything that she saw inside that church. It began with shots going through the window of the church, then a Sunday school teacher screaming, "Everyone, get on the ground." What else did she see while she was on the ground inside the church?
She saw the shooter after he initially stayed at the entryway and emptied, 6 or 8 clips, 30-round magazine clips, and then he proceeded to walk up and down the aisle, she said about 10, 15 times, shooting everybody that was laying on the ground. And she laid on the ground the whole time and watched his boots walk up and down, and then he eventually, did a circle and then ended up at her pew, which was the very first pew to the front door. And the lady to her left, he started shooting her repeatedly. And so she held her hand, and the lady was crying a lot. And she told her, "You're going to be okay, you're going to heaven." And then he stopped shooting her, and then she knew it was her turn. So she started praying for God to take her to heaven. And then she said a gunman at the door diverted his attention, and he left, and then that was the end of the ordeal inside the church.
Unbelievable. No word on what happened to her friend on the ground with her. The hero, Stephen Wilford, was the man who ran to the church and diverted that shooter's attention, likely saving Farida.
Every time I heard a shot, I knew that probably represented a life. I was scared to death. I was scared for me, and I was scared for every one of them, and I was scared for my own family that just lived less than a block away. I'm no hero. I am not.
David says his mother said that the shooter was targeting people's cell phones, and particularly children.
She said she heard people crying and screaming, call the police, and she said it sounded like he was shooting their cell phones. It was more of a crackling sound whenever he would shoot their cell phones. And she didn't know hers was being shot up, but it was riddled with bullets when she got to it later.
We heard one survivor say that he point blank would just shoot babies that cried.
Yes, yeah. Any noise at all, whether it was babies or kids or moms pleading for their kids' lives.
A local funeral home is donating caskets for these victims so that they don't have to worry about that, these families on top of everything else. David says his mother would never even have been in that church if it wasn't for Hurricane Harvey. His mother was forced to leave Houston after Harvey because of the damage suffered by the hurricane, which is why she was in the area on that day. David is now trying to raise as much money as he can, he says, to rebuild that church. He's got a GoFundMe page now.